Hey everyone, Margin back with another tutorial, this time about color theory. So, starting off, we have the color wheel. Now, the color wheel is usually divided when you're first learning about it into the primary and secondary colors. Red, yellow, blue being the primary, orange, green, and purple being the secondary. Then, when you get a little more advanced, you get the tertiary colors, which are what happens when you blend your red and orange to get a red-orange, orange and yellow to get a yellow-orange, and so on across the color wheel. Generally, this kind of set of colors is the warm colors, and these are the cool colors. Brown is also a warm color in certain circumstances, and gray is usually also a cool color in other circumstances. But gray, black, and brown are usually considered the neutrals. But every color can fall on a spectrum between cool and warm. Generally, the cool colors stay in the cool area, but you can have a more cool blue versus a more warm blue, depending on what you're doing. A monochrome scheme is when you only have one color that you're dealing with, and you take it from as dark as you can get for that color to as light as you can get with that color. Analogous color schemes are when you have colors that are all of the same family all together to create that color palette. So these are analogous colors, is the blue, purple blue, and violet. Complementary colors are its opposites on the color wheel. Usually it's meant for really eye-attracting stuff, so the more violent it is, the more people tend to see it, kind of thing. A lot of Christmas stuff is red and green, and so that's like one of the biggest combos that people know. And then when you get into your tertiary colors as well, you can take those and create triads of colors. So these are colors that look good together for creating palettes. So that's why you see palettes ranging from 3 colors up to like 5 colors is usually what a lot of people do. And then I also did some blending stuff. So the Pitt Artist Pens are in India ink, and this swatch here is just one color. So I layered them a couple of times over each other. This one is this is just 2 colors here. This is a pinky red and this teal color. This is a triad of 3 colors that are about the same of that same family. So this is an Indian red, that same color here, this mid-tone red, and then a pink. And you can't really see it very well, but they do have a little bit of a line where they blend over each other. And then this is created with a series of blues, and then finally streaking upwards with the lightest color, which, as a warning, it does stain the tip of your pen, so you need to be quick about wiping it off with paper, a side paper, so that it cleans off. It's just a good habit for cleaning all markers because it's the same thing you do with alcohol markers. The Bic marking are a permanent marker. They don't necessarily have great layers. You can layer them again for a slightly darker color, but they don't do that hot for multiple layers to get that shading effect. But when you layer the same types of colors, so these are all browns, having those and layering over top of each other, it looks much nicer to create that shading kind of effect. Here are Spectrum Noirs. They're also alcohol markers. Here I used on these 2 spots the colors blender that I had to try to get some shading effects. It doesn't really work all that well because a colors blender is actually an acetone kind of thing, so it like pulls the ink away and mushes it together. It works and doesn't work. And here it's without, and you can't see that definition line between the 2 all that well. And then this is some Artist Loft markers that they're water-based, they're not very good, and I wouldn't blend them unless you're in the same color family. So the blue and green blended just fine, but that green and orange didn't go so hot. But especially with colors are all about figuring out what looks the best next to each other. You're either going to go with a harmonious palette or you're going to go with a clashing palette. And clashing palettes can look good if you're clashing in the right ways. This triad palette here on the top looks really good, but it's very bright. Whereas this is a more muted tone set that looks also really good, but you wouldn't match this with this unless you were doing something else. So it's all about figuring out what will look good next to each other, and that's why you should also do a lot of swatching. So whenever I use markers, let me see, I also do some swatches of all of those types of markers that I have to go with them. And that's just to know exactly what the color looks like on a piece of paper ready to go. And that's for reference purposes. But this is generally what I have on the side, which is just double checking to make sure that colors look good next to each other and that they can blend, or whatever I'm doing will look semi decent. Or to make sure, like here, I did that same color swatch, um, is to test to see how that line looks in between, so that I can, if I'm trying to align the colors next to each other, it doesn't look gross if I overline it, because markers can sometimes be hard to control. But I think that basically covers it. Let me know if you have any comments about this or want to see any other types of tutorials in the future. Thanks for watching. Bye.